All right, guys, welcome back. This is the third episode of the Former Coach's Corner, hosted by Shakalaka Bowls. We oversee home maintenance and repairs in Charlotte area sports. Our second ever guest is Jimmy Fletcher, the AD from West Brunswick High School. We just want to thank you for coming in, man, taking your time out of your busy schedule. I know you came all the way from where I know you were at an AD meeting.
Oh, yeah, we were in Duplin County.
Duplin County.
I certainly appreciate you guys having me.
Oh, yeah,
It's
of course.
awesome.
No, I know. It's something, we're hoping to bring to West Brunswick, and not only West Brunswick, but the local community, just to build more support to you guys. If this community wasn't already supportive enough, I just feel like anything that we can do is to help raise awareness, and, what other way than to bring the head man in charge.
Oh, yeah, well, I definitely appreciate doing this because I do think anytime we can help our youth, help our kids get noticed, help our school get noticed, I think it's a great thing. I really do.
Well, I think, one of the things that brought me to West is, you've been there for so long. And how many years have you been there?
This is my 23rd year.
23rd year. Wow. Have I been alive 23? Yeah, okay. 32.
Not.
I'm 32, so I have been. I'm just kidding. But, one of the big things is, when I've talked to other people around the community and people that know you for so long, that's always been your main objective, and it is whatever you can do to help the kids, whether it's getting them to college when you were the football coach, or, one thing that we're going to discuss later in the episode is, the facilities that you have been able to bring to West, not just by yourself, but with the help of everybody. And, I think that's one of the big things that draw me to West, and I think why, Coach WA felt so inclined to be able to join us for a year over at West was, we knew that we were going to be supported as coaches, and we knew that you were going to do the best that you could do at West for all our athletes.
That's right. One thing and I've always had a true passion for kids, not just, kids I coach, but not just kids I coach, the kids in the community and that type thing. And so anything that I've done at West, it has been because I want our kids to be successful. Whether it's getting scholarships, whether it's having nice facilities, I want them to feel good about their uniforms they're wearing. Anything that we can do to make our kids feel equal or even better than the teams we play, that was always my passion, and it still is.
So what do you think is one of the things that has kind of helped you be able to do that so well?
For me, I think it all goes back to relationships. I think with our community, getting out, talking to people in the community, I think when I was a college coach and when I was coaching in college, the way we were able to get a lot of kids in college were relationships that I had built through college coaching. One thing that I've always felt like is for you to be successful, you have got to put yourself out there, have relationships with people, because I think that's so important in today's world especially.
And I think it's so cool how it transitions into the AD world, because for the last 2 episodes, we've talked about so much of the relationships that we've been able to build as coaches, and we've talked about the brotherhood and the sisterhood of coaching. It doesn't matter what level that you're at in sports, whether you're playing or coaching, the relationships that you can build, it's like a fraternity,
It really is.
And I think Duke does such a good job over there in the basketball program of preaching, the fraternity of brotherhood through Duke men's basketball. And they're just one of those ones that have kind of branded that. But I think it's just been one of those unspoken things that help so many people, not only further their athletic career, but just their life in general.
That's exactly. Well, I think when I transitioned into the athletic director position, I think the relationships were different then, because used to I was all about trying to get a kid a scholarship, and I was dealing with college coaches, those type things. Well, now as an AD, I'm dealing with community members, trying to let them know the things that we need, the things that our kids need. And our community has done such a good job with that as far as jumping on board. And then that goes right along with our booster club. I mean, without our booster club, we would not have a chance to be as successful as we have been, as far as, they do all of our uniforms. They do anything. They feed the kids on
playoff games. Yeah.
Yes, they. If we are in a situation where we got to spend the night, they buy the rooms. We've done things in the weight room because we felt like the weight room was something that all of our kids can use. We've done things for, just the looks of campus, just our athletic facilities. I mean, it's amazing what we've been able to do over the last, 23 years. When I think about when I got there and I think about where we are now, it's the county has definitely helped us a lot.
Without a doubt.
I think they do a great job, but I think our community has pitched in, and they have just been they've gone above and beyond what, things that we need. And obviously our signage is the way I know that some people do signs in certain ways, but I kind of stole it from another school in North Carolina, the way we handle signage.
Everything great was stolen somewhere.
Oh, of course.
That's just how it is.
That's definitely how it is. So since we started doing our signs the way we have been able to do the last, 10, 12 years, we've been very fortunate with getting community members on board.
Well, and I think, and we're gonna go back to when you first started and what you did before you were AD and everything like that. But I think one thing that I really want people in the community and that hopefully the few people that watch this to understand that you guys don't just ask for help. You guys give back too, because and I have first-hand knowledge of it. Every year during Halloween, the basketball and the baseball programs would load up the bus with whatever athletes that we had. We'd go to the local church. What I remember is that your church, right?
That's my church,
yeah.
Brunswick Island Baptist.
And we would go to their church and we'd unload pumpkins, and that's just one small little thing that we did. But there's no asking of anything there. That's just someone asked us to be able to help, and we try to do as many things and to be able in the basketball program to give back to the community or whatever we could. I don't want there to ever be the mindset that any school program, whether it's West Brunswick, South Brunswick, North Brunswick, that it's always the ask and never to give. I feel like that's one thing that you have always done a good job of. Yeah, we're going to ask for help because that's part of it, but it's part of growing your athletic department and the Booster Club, and it does such a good job. But it's also the giving back aspect, and I think that's such a big thing that sometimes gets overlooked.
Well, some things that we did when I coached football, we actually helped an elderly person roof her house. We actually adopted some families that, we provided gifts, which I think the dance team is still doing now.
These are things that don't show up in the stat book. These are the things that exactly, and they're not, and you don't do it because you want people to know it. But sometimes I feel like it is a good thing for some of that stuff to get shined the light on.
It is. And the thing that you guys used to do too, and we're still doing it, is where you go to the elementary schools, open the doors in the morning. We actually will still do some families at Thanksgiving, so we can, so some kids will have a meal. I mean, there's so many things that we do behind the scenes that, it's just because our coaches and myself want to do that. I think that's a really neat thing that we're able to give back in those type ways.
Yeah. Well, I think WA had a question about prior to you being an AD.
Okay.
What you have with that?
Yeah, as far as just give us a little bit of your background at West. So 23 years, the state championship baseball, was that 04?
04.
04. So you were around for that. Just talk about your time at West. You've seen a lot. Just give us the whole story from starting out to where you are now.
That's been a long time ago.
That's why we're only covering your West tenure, not your college. We already warned them about not going all because we don't have time for that.
So it's really interesting though. I never thought I would come back to high school. I had totally made my mind up that I was going to stay in college coaching, and then of course we had kids, and Meg and Jay were small, and I was gone recruiting, so I was never around them. And so I knew it was time to do, to make a change. And I'll never forget, I got a call from the AD at the time that said,
now, who was the AD?
That was Marcia Heddy.
Okay.
And Marcia said, well, we really don't want a college coach, and we really don't want someone that's never been a head high school coach. And I said, well, that's what I am. And she said, well, just come down and talk to us. And I said, okay. So I was like, I'll make a trip to the beach. And so, came down and actually I came down on a Friday, and that Monday Nancy Coble was the principal, and she called me and asked me if I would be willing to take the job. And we talked about, obviously I needed some help, needed a trainer. I would not come without a trainer, so we were able to hire Megan Hardy. So that's kind of how it happened really quick, and really had no clue that I would take it. But when I came down here, I knew about the tradition because I had recruited this area. And then when I came down here, I saw how people were excited about sports programs at West, and, ended up taking the job. And, the funny thing, I was the head football coach for 10 years and the head track coach for 10 years because I kind of felt like those two sports kind of go hand in hand. Yeah. We had some success. We made it to the third round a couple of times. I never won a state championship. That was always my goal. But we had so much fun. We had some great kids, relationship with those kids. I still stay in touch with a lot of those kids. In that process, I was able to coach in the Shrine Bowl. I was able to be the East-West head coach in the East. So I was able to do some things that, things I'd always wanted to do.
A lot of coaches who can't say the same thing.
Absolutely.
That those are not small awards right there or jobs that you were able to take on.
But those are a big deal.
Yeah.
There's a lot of accomplishment there. Two quick follow-up because I know you're only part of the way through your statement there. And I forgot where I was going with it. So continue on.
Okay.
It'll come back to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was really interesting, though. I had just coached in the Shrine Bowl. I had just been the East-West head coach. And I tell you, I was really tired. And we had just come off a great year. We had tied for the conference championship. But I had told my wife at the end of the year, I was like, I'm exhausted. I said, I just don't know if I can continue to do this. Because, obviously I just put my heart and soul into it. I really did. And then about that time, that was when Coach Floyd told me that he was thinking about stepping down as the AD. And, it really worked out. It just so happened the good Lord had the time. The timing worked out. And he ended up, retiring. And I was able to take on the AD role. And that was something that I'd always kind of, a goal of mine would have been.
Most head coaches, I know coming in that's one of your goals is become either, win a state championship in said sport or, become into the athletic director world. Exactly. Again, I'm going to jump forward in one just because I know you're only halfway, is what is one of the largest obstacles over your 23-year tenure that you have found in, I'm not going to say the coaching world, but more of the AD realm? Like, what is one of the biggest obstacles?
So now I'm speaking just clearly on wins and losses. Mm-hmm. I think as an AD, number one, you would like to be successful in every sport. Mm-hmm. You want to win conference championships. You want to win state championships. And I know I have told several people about this. The 10 years prior to joining the 4A league mm-hmm. that we were in, we had won 68 conference championships the 10 years prior. So after we joined this conference, and we've been in this conference for 18 years, we have won 3 conference championships. So to me as an AD, I think that's tough on my coaches. Mm-hmm. I think it's tough on our community. Yeah. Because, they were used to winning conference championships, not just in football and basketball. I'm talking track and tennis and mm-hmm. golf. We're in a situation where I think it makes it hard for us to win conference championships. Now, I think we have great coaches. I think our kids are committed. I think sometimes just sheer number of I know like Hoggard is over 1,000 more students.
It's hard to compete with that sometimes.
Laney's like 1,200 more. So I think just sheer numbers, it makes it really tough. I also think in basketball and some of the other sports, in Wilmington, you've got a YMCA, you've got
a court on every corner.
We don't have that luxury.
Mm-hmm. I know.
And playing tennis, we don't have all the tennis facilities,
country clubs, all those kind of things that are around.
That's exactly.
Same thing with. I was about to say golf, but we are in about golf capital of America over here.
We definitely have.
That's
golf
one that's checked
covered.
off the box right there.
Exactly. But even like. if you're trying to do a travel team for volleyball, I mean, you've got to go to Myrtle Beach. You've got to go to
Wilmington is one of the two.
Exactly. Swimming. My daughter was a swimmer. I took her to, before she had her driver's license, I had to take her to South Carolina all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're in a situation where we just don't have some of those, the possibilities of doing that.
Yeah.
And I do think it hurts us. Yeah. I really do.
I mean, that's about as accurate. Yeah.
That to me has been the hardest thing that I've faced as an AD.
Okay. Well, so you kind of brought it up a second ago, Jay and Meg, okay? I know, the realm, because both of us, my dad was an athletic director. He was a wrestling coach. Your dad was, he was athletic director. We both kind of came in that realm. So we're speaking more from Jay and Meg's point of view. Yeah. But, how was it going through that? I know it's hard, but it's also got to be kind of joyful and rewarding in that aspect too.
I would not have cared if my kids never played sports, but they both were very involved. Meg actually played 4 sports and Jay played 3.
Well, and I know her name was on those record walls for a while too, with swimming.
Time. That's right, and swimming. It was a lot of fun being around when they were there. Obviously, every time they got an award, it was because I was the AD. Mm-hmm. It was not because, they were one of the better athletes at the time.
Or hardest workers.
Or the hardest workers. I have to say that they both worked extremely hard. They had success. It was so much fun being there with them. I enjoyed coaching, because I coached Meg in track.
Yeah.
Got to coach Jay in football. And it was lots of fun.
I feel like family-wise, it's gotta help a lot. Bring it a little bit closer. I never got my dad to coach me in high school, but it's the same thing. Any accolade that I got, is because of him. Everybody always asks, like, what was it like having your dad your principal or your dad your coach? I always had lunch money. I never went out without lunch, but I think it was just as tough on him as it was on me. But I don't think he would ever trade it for the world.
Not at all. And Meg's senior year, I got to eat lunch with her every day. Now, not a lot of daughters would come and eat lunch with their dad, but she came and ate lunch with me every day.
Yeah.
So I mean, that to me was something that you could never take that back. That was so cool, I thought.
And there's so many cool moments when you're around athletics growing up. When you can bring. For me, when I got to go to the high school gym, that was huge. When I got to be in a locker room,
exactly.
Those, especially around in a small town,
exactly.
Those high schoolers are like heroes.
They are.
And I think that's one thing that West, and you touched on it, West does so well is making it such a big deal for the youth and bringing them in. Coaches do that, you do that.
Exactly.
I don't want to get too far back in that, but that's a big deal to have them around, and the late nights where you're putting stuff away after a football game.
Exactly.
And, they're able to run around on the field. Those are huge memories.
They were always there with me. Jay was the ball boy when he was a little kid. So it was, it was just kind of a family thing. And you're right. I mean, at the end of the night, Meg would jump on the golf cart or gate or whatever and help me pick up equipment. And we washed clothes. We washed a lot of laundry. So it's a lot of fun.
Without a doubt. And, we're talking about those two, but there's another one that's in that family that's got to be pretty strong too to deal with it. Just knowing my mom too, Miss Lynn Fletcher as well. That to be a coach's wife for as long as she has, man, you've got to be a rock. You got to
really
be tough,
and
to withstand those early mornings, late nights, sitting in the stands.
Having to listen about how crazy your husband is.
Exactly, and that's part of it. But I think that's some of the advice that I got when getting into the coaching career is you better find a coach's wife, and I think that's one thing that you definitely hit the jackpot with as well with Miss Fletcher.
I have to tell you this story. When I proposed to my wife, her mom, after I told them, that I proposed, she was like, I thought I had taught you better than to marry a coach, because her dad was a coach.
Yeah.
She said, I just can't believe you would marry another coach. So that was pretty. I mean, I know she was joking, but it was kind of comical at that time.
I got very lucky. Brooke knows nothing about sports. We can't even have a conversation. She goes, "Are you going to ball?" And I'm like, ball,
To
basketball,
ball.
softball. We're like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
She's surfer through and through. But
That's great.
I'm glad, honestly. I don't have to compete in the
Exactly.
conversations with that. But I think talking about your past and where you came from and what you've been able to do at West, I'm glad we're able to bring you on. And I know you've had 1,000 interviews with the paper and you've been able to do this, but we're trying to bring a little bit a new age, news circuit to this area. And now people can, if they've never met you, they can really put a face to the name and some of the things that you've done. And I know with Coach Myatt with Charlotte Area Sports, like that's one of their goals is, and I think that's why we started really wanting to do this is because we want to bring a new type of media to this area.
I think it's great. I mean, I know I said this at the beginning, but anything like this that recognizes our kids and our school and gives, because it's very positive, because I think sports is a very positive thing for kids. And I think that a lot of people don't realize that a lot of kids would quit school if they didn't
Absolutely.
have sports.
Absolutely.
You
Or
know,
they wouldn't, they wouldn't make
the
it.
grades. And I think, our coaches are on them, and this, about their grades, about their attendance. And I mean, because some kids or some young people, that they just don't have the support at home as they do at school.
Yeah.
And I think it's great.
Yeah. Well, I know, and this is you got to keep me back on track because I don't have my phone, so you're going to have to get us back. But I just know, working in this area now for so long, it's so crazy to talk to so many, now they're grown adults, but so many, young men who have been like, yeah, Jimmy took me in for like a year. Like, I know it's funny, but it's almost like, holy cow. Like, I would say, honestly, I don't know a number, but 5, 6 different people, they were like, I lived with Coach Fletcher for a little while just to get, to help me get through when I needed to get through. Right. And I think, some of those kids, lasting memories that to this day they still talk about, and I know you don't do it for a pat on the back, but that's every coach's dream. Yeah, we want to win state, or if you're doing it for the right reasons, we talked about this in the first episode, the state championships, the records, like that stuff doesn't really matter to I feel like some of the coaches that truly care about just the athletes. It's the relationships that you have built with them,
really is.
Kind of thing, and I think that's really cool.
For me, this is a good example of that. Middle school basketball, again, coming from Division I college athletics to middle school basketball is a culture shock in and of itself. But we had J.J. Cavan, that group, their 8th grade year, my first year at Charlotte, right? We went undefeated, won conference. That was really cool. You know what was even better, is seeing them their senior year in high school and the men that they became. And, now even talking to them 3-4 years removed from that, because that's my oldest class that I have. You get to see, you probably, you have fathers that have kids of their own.
Definitely.
You get to see.
There's a joke in there somewhere, but I'm going to save it.
I said fathers. I didn't say grandfathers.
Not grandfathers.
But just seeing and maybe playing a small part of what they become, and a productive member of society, family, and that's the coolest thing about it to me.
Oh yeah. One thing I have found out though, whether you take kids in or you throw your heart and soul into them, I think when I was young, I just thought that you could reach everybody.
Yeah. Oh man.
And sometimes you just can't, no matter what you do, you just can't reach them. And even there's, even kids that take them in. Sometimes it just didn't work out for them. But we've had so many success stories. I've had kids obviously go to college and play, and like you said, they're great young men. They have kids. Some of them are still in the community, and it's great to see them as.
Success is not always defined by the same thing of going professional or college athlete or lots of money. Success is totally different in different realms.
It really is. To me, if you are a productive member of our society and you are doing the right things every day, that's success.
Yeah.
For some of these kids.
Yeah, without a doubt.
That's huge.
Yeah.
I really do.
Get us back on topic, WA. What's the next one?
We're halfway through Coach Fletcher's journey at West Brunswick after we've taken some turns. While we're at the pause of the halfway point, let's bring it back to now, the here and now. Let's talk about fall sports this year. Since Coach Handy was just on and we were talking about the Laney game, that's a big win over at 8A school. But just talk a little bit about the football team, their success, but then kind of the bigger picture of all fall sports at West Brunswick?
So obviously, Coach Handy has done a great job. I mean, when he got here, and I told him straight up when he got here, it was going to be a rebuilding process. And I tell you, the guy has worked and worked and worked, and I think he's actually reaping some things that he has sown in the past. Huge win against Laney. Really and truly, we probably should be 5-0. The North Myrtle Beach game, I think if we played them 5 times, we beat them 4. But he's really turned some things around. Obviously, in high school football at our size, you've got to stay healthy. Mm-hmm. And so far, knock on wood, we have stayed healthy. And that's a huge part of it. And I think if we can continue to stay healthy, I think we'll have a very successful season.
I think that's where it comes in, like, with the depth chart of being those bigger schools, we're one guy goes down for us, we're having to pull from another position.
Exactly.
Hoggard, they're pulling the next man up, and they're not having to lose. Yeah.
Well, it's a perfect example. I was at a meeting today, and I was talking to the AD at Hoggard. Obviously, none of their players play both ways.
Yeah.
And then they have backups to those kids. Yeah. So, and just what you said, if we lose a linebacker, he might be our starting running back.
Yep.
So it really makes a difference, like I say, with schools our size. Mm-hmm. So we do have to stay healthy, but I do think our kids are playing hard. Coach Powell has done a great job with our defense. And I just think those coaches are working hard, and I'm excited. I really am.
Well, and me still talking to some of the teachers there, I think one thing that they've talked about is the school year has started so well too. The kids and the admin and everything. The culture around the school, the spirit around the school is very high right now. And, I think anytime you start a season with a good football program, that really helps jumpstart everything else.
No question.
And I know looking down at, we talked about a little bit, our men's soccer program, 7-3 overall, 1-2 in conference. They just had a big win the other night, right, against.
It was, Tuesday evening against North Brunswick.
Yes.
So Wednesday's today.
Yes. Last night was a huge win, went into overtime, and North is a 7A school.
Mm-hmm.
So that continues to help us. Coach Tapp, I think, has done a really good job. Our record's really good. Now, we've got to continue to play better and get better, but last night's win was huge.
Certainly one of the better years, better starts.
That soccer has had in a while.
Yes,
yeah, without a doubt.
Definitely.
Yeah, and they're doing a great job there.
I think Coach E did a very good prior to Coach Tappy. I think building the youth programs around, and I think it's kind of piggying back off a little bit of that. I know Coach Tappy is doing a great job, but some things I don't want. Coach E, I felt like when he came in, did a very good job to get it to where it's at.
When they started that youth program, mm-hmm. and this is first day I was there, probably had 25 kids. Honest, you go out there now, there's 130 kids.
Yeah.
Which is, and it's girls.
I was going to say it's girls and boys,
yes.
right?
And I think if we can continue to do that, I think we'll have more success.
Now, does Coach E, Coach Tapia, and Coach Greer, do they all run that together?
No. So Coach Tapp is involved. There's some other people now involved, mm-hmm. but they've done a great job. Tom McGee has done a great job with that. It's just some different, it's a little different organization, but we've partnered with them, mm-hmm. and Coach E is kind of out of it now because he's involved with his new career.
Yeah, of course.
Greer is involved some, not as much as she was last year because she has changed jobs.
Yep.
But she still is involved, and Coach Tapp is involved as well.
Okay. Well, we talked about that's one of the best soccer sports. I think you mentioned to us earlier to help us a little bit because I am out of it so much, and we try to do as much research as we can. But you said one of our women's golfers shot an 88, which is,
Miranda
I would die to shoot an 88. I would die to break 100 right now. Now, WA, you can't talk, but I would die to break 100 at this point.
Me too. I would love to do that.
Miranda shooting an 88. I think that's a huge deal,
and that will qualify her for the regionals.
Really,
which that's awesome.
So, what do you have to shoot at regionals to then qualify for state? Do you have any idea? I have no idea.
I don't know right off the top of my head. I'm not sure.
At regionals, I think that I think it would be where you place in the field for regionals.
Okay.
That is my understanding. I don't think it's a certain qualifying score. I think it's your placement amongst the rest of the regional qualifiers.
Okay. I do know that when she shot the 88, I mean, of course, and when we have a golf match, it's all of our schools in our whole conference. So she finished third that day, which that was huge.
Miranda, I think I taught her. I believe she's either I think she's a junior. Junior.
Yes,
yeah.
she's a junior.
I remember her because I think she and Coach Borden. I'm not sure that she played golf before middle school.
I tried to talk her into playing basketball. She's tall.
Yeah, she's very
I thought
tall
she would be a
young
very
lady.
good basketball player, but I didn't know she didn't play golf in middle school.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that she started when she was in middle school.
Okay.
So for her to be breaking 90 now,
Oh yeah,
that's pretty good.
that's really good.
I break 90, but I'm throwing the ball half the time.
I would
out of the
would
sand
definitely
or
be
something
throwing
like that. You know, one sport that I always wanted. I loved going to the games because I would be able to sit there next to you and Reeves in the corner, and it's dear to us at Shaka just because one of our employees. But the volleyball program with Coach Scott and Haley Russ, who's an employee for us, and I get to talk to her about it. We're rooting for them every single time.
Definitely.
And I know
no, they work hard.
They work hard,
Extremely
and
hard.
sometimes it doesn't always show up on the stats, but all those girls are trying to play at the next level.
They are.
And I think
they are.
I was telling Kelsey, I saw Kelsey after the Laney game, and just saw her in pass, and I was like, man, you're so close.
They're
it's one of those
really
things.
close.
It's just so hard to get over that
is.
hump.
It
it's
is.
not indicative of the team that they
It's
have.
exactly.
They showed flashes like the
Oh.
Laney game. The first two games were not very competitive, but the third game they did get swept. But like game 3, if you just walked into that gym,
You
would
wouldn't.
not have known
Yeah.
what just happened because they looked like they passed the eye test. It's
Oh,
just they showed
definitely.
in flashes, and that's it's terribly frustrating as a coach.
Oh, it
We've
is.
all had those.
They've
moments.
got some like only volleyball players
Yes.
too. Autumn White, Kelsey
Exactly.
Likens, Haley Russ. And those are just some of the names that I know personally that their sport is volleyball, and they work day in, day out, in season, out of season. I know Kelsey and Haley for sure. I'm not sure about Autumn, but they play year round. They travel,
They
and
do.
That talks about a whole different topic we're going to end up talking
it's
about
exactly.
is if you're not playing year round.
Yes.
Autumn does play basketball.
That's
She does,
exactly.
and she's a 4-year player for them. I'm pretty
Yes,
sure
I
with
think so.
basketball.
I think so.
So
and
going.
then our JV volleyball team has done well. They've been very.
Who's the coach for that? Because I know the coaching staff's
So,
changed a little bit.
They kind of.
But do they do the? Does Miss Scott coach both?
Together,
Okay.
yeah. And we have a new. Bella is not a new coach. She coached softball with Coach Scott, but she joined. She actually is on staff now.
Okay.
And now she's helping Coach Olivia coach volleyball.
Volleyball as well. Well, I think Coach Handy talked about this, and I agree with him. I just don't think physically or mentally I could do that. Coaching both JV and varsity, I mean that's a on a daily basis that's 5 hours minimum of practice time, and then
That would be
game
hard.
wise.
I mean, you pretty much did it.
Well, your year we definitely did it, but
Yeah,
I
that
finally
was
got to the
every
point
year.
where I almost had a Hoggard staff where I had about
Exactly.
7 assistant coaches.
Exactly.
But I worked hard to get those coaches too. But that's part of that where I felt like I could trust those guys that they put the work in, they put the time in, and I want to be able to trust those guys. And it wasn't as if we weren't around the JV program. Everything we did was with JV and varsity. But that's hard.
It is, and the thing about it, some high school coaches, they don't take a lot of time with the JVs. I mean, that's your future.
Yep.
Yeah.
You better coach your JVs.
I think
or
every
you
program at
better-
West does do that.
I
Thinking
think
about it
we
now,
do.
everybody always has.
I think we do a great job with our JV kids. I really do. I think all of our kids.
and I know we're gonna
all
get-
our
Having a
coaches.
JV team is big.
Oh,
Yes.
it's
A lot of
huge.
schools don't have
It's
it.
Yes,
Exactly.
exactly.
Soccer.
And I know there's been a lot of talks just even in our county of some sports not carrying JV girls basketball, JV volleyball, JV softball. It's more on the women's side right
It
now,
is.
but
It is.
Reason, but yeah.
eventually, who knows if it trickles over? But that's I think that's where the coaches come in. You have to be. You have to advocate for your
You
sport.
do. You have to recruit. I mean, you have to
In the
walk
hallways.
hallway.
Okay.
Yes, yes. In the hallways, you have to walk in the cafeteria,
Yeah.
in the hallways, and recruit.
I think that's one. One of the big things that we loved bringing in at West was the Future Trojans program, and I think bringing in the youth kids that you talked about it earlier. The dream of getting to play varsity, whatever at West in the gym on the field. to get them and you got to stay with them,
do.
from kids that were in 5th grade when they first came to your program to watching them at Shiloh or Cedar Grove or Waccamaw to finally coming through your program, and they can see your face through that and to finally get there. I think all of our coaches, have done such a good job, and I think it's just going to continue to get that way too.
I do too. And I think too with our, we started our camp program a couple years ago when we're doing the camps at the high schools in the summer. I think that's helped us a little bit as far as getting to know some parents, getting to know some kids, because that way we can even follow them more closely when they're playing Parks and Rec or middle school or things like that.
That's every sport.
Every sport.
Every sport has the summer
Yes.
camp.
Yes,
You guys
except
schedule.
swimming because we don't have the facility.
Yeah,
We
there's
really
a
can't
BCC,
work it.
right?
It's BCC,
Yeah.
yes.
All right, so what's the next sport we got? We got cross country. So we haven't talked about cross country and girls tennis. And old cross country is the voice of West Brunswick, right?
That's right.
I'm trying to take his job right here.
That's right.
It's
Coach Caraway.
Coach James Jimmy Caraway.
Yes.
He's been there.
He's been there a long time. Yes, he's been there a long time.
It's kind of crazy. Other than maybe 2 or 3, whenever I left, I was one of the longest tenured head coaches at West, and one of them who was longer is Jimmy Caraway. And he was wrestling, right?
He was the head wrestling coach, had a lot of success.
I was going to say he was very successful in wrestling.
Very successful. We actually won 2 regional championships at West when he was there, and did a great job. And then he just, kind of very similar. His girls started growing, and he was gone all the time. So, but he definitely wanted to continue to coach cross country, which I'm glad.
Oh, and
does a great
he's
job.
someone that, he was the voice at all our late night at West.
Exactly.
He does all the football games.
That's exactly. Does bash at the beach.
Does bash at the beach.
luncheon.
He is fully engulfed in West Brunswick.
Completely.
And I think that sometimes gets overlooked by his, beautiful personality.
That's right.
But I think he does. I think, I will 100% give him the credit that, Jimmy Caraway will and has always done everything he possibly can for not just wrestling, not just cross country. Of course, he advocates for him, but he does it for West Brunswick. He does the pep rallies.
He does.
I reached out to him. He did when I was the AD at Shiloh, he did our Shiloh Cedar Grove football game.
Did he really?
Yeah, he got on, did the voice, and didn't have any problem with it.
Oh yeah.
Just an example of him giving the time.
Oh yeah.
I think
He
he'll like
does.
this little shout out a little
Oh
bit.
yeah, I think he will
Help his
he'll
head a little
appreciate
bit.
that.
But one of the athletes that there, and I think I've had the opportunity to be able to coach him in the weight room or teach him in the weight room. Bryson Hollis. He's one of those kids that I think if he put himself to it, he could break some records over at West if he has not already.
And I think he has broken most of the distance records now. And at West Brunswick, and he made the regionals last year. So hopefully he's going to make the regionals again this year.
And I know he's battled some injuries. If he can
has.
stay healthy, I think he's a kid that.
That's the truth. He has battled some
Fun
injuries.
story. Pat myself on the back a little bit this one, but we did the mile at Shiloh Middle pretty often. And he as a 6th grader ran something. He was hovering around the 6 minute,
Something
it was
crazy.
Something very impressive.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, "Have you ever thought about cross country?" It's like, "Well, you mean I just run?"
And now look at him.
You could probably
That's
with
exactly.
you could probably go to college for it.
Oh, definitely.
He ran cross country, and it certainly isn't because of me. But
Hey, but you put it in his
at
mind,
least planted a seed
I
back
know.
there, but
And that's all you
Exactly.
do as coaches is somehow be able to plant a seed, whatever it is. And that's
Exactly.
that rewarding factor. Right there, proof's in it.
Yeah.
Girls tennis. Christy
Girls-
Raven. I know she was a tennis player at West
She
Brunswick.
was a
growing
tennis
up.
player and actually played in college.
Did she win a state championship?
No, she did not.
Okay.
But I say no, she did not.
Her and her sister
Her
Amanda.
and her sister were great athletes there.
Yep.
And of course, Billy Noble,
Mhm.
their brother, he actually did win
And
the state
Dad.
championship. And
Yeah.
Dad.
Yeah,
Coach Noble.
long head softball coach for a
Yeah,
long time. So she's
so
trying to carry the
trying to
torch a
carry
little bit.
That's exactly. So she's our swim coach, but Scott Mahalik, who's been our tennis coach forever, he decided to step back a little bit this year, so she took over for our girls.
Is he still helping?
He still helps.
Okay, good.
He'll come out there and help some. But we have a lot of young kids. I
Mm-hmm.
think she told me she had 16 freshmen.
The
Which
numbers,
is
having the numbers
amazing.
at that in itself, that's incredible because I don't think I've ever seen 16.
Oh, I can't ever remember that many.
I mean, that's
So
that. I mean, you talking
that's
about
a-
recruiting the hallways a
Oh,
little
exactly.
bit too. I mean, I don't know what the tennis. Is there tennis
There's
in?
not a middle school tennis program.
So I mean,
Oh,
to be able to
okay.
get those
Yep.
16 up like that, that's
Oh, yeah.
impressive.
So I think she's done a great job. They're practicing all the time, and she says they're getting better and better and better. So, which I mean, that's what you try to do. As a coach.
Anytime I've ever driven on campus, I've seen those tennis lights on.
exactly.
And it's always hitting. And I think one thing that's very cool, and I've talked to some athletes that have come into Shaka just getting them. I've talked to them; they're actually tennis players. Is the guys program and the girls program? They're so cohesive. Like they practice together. I'm not even
Exactly.
talking about like the guys who play tennis during guys season, which is
Exactly.
spring, come in and play and practice
They do.
with the girls.
They do.
Kyle, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't Kyle? Isn't he like
He's
a
out there most
teammate
afternoons.
or a student coach kind of for them, kind of
He's out there
helping?
most afternoons. I don't know what his exact role is, but he gets to hit the ball around pretty much, year round. They're out there, and now at the tennis courts that were there. Talk about that. Talk about that is the tennis courts now are such an upgrade.
Oh,
That's
my
going to have to
goodness.
carry us into the next topic, which is the facilities that you have been able to change at West. So
Oh,
let's
yeah.
start with the tennis courts.
So the tennis courts, I probably had to weed eat the tennis courts more than I did any of the other facilities.
lights.
No lights.
Yeah.
Wrigley Field.
That's exactly. So this, I guess it's been a couple years ago, maybe 3 years ago when we got the new facilities.
Yeah.
Thank you to our county, and recently passed Ed Lemon was a huge part of that, and because he always wanted to have new tennis courts, and so now we can actually hold matches there. The tennis courts are great. We've got lights. They can practice at night if they need. They can practice early morning because they do that some. Because we do have lights, and we have 6 courts now, which, we only had 4, and we really couldn't do anything with just
You
4
can't host a
courts.
match.
Can't host a match. We would have to go to the Parks and Rec, and host a match on Old Georgetown Road. So it just makes it so much nicer to be able to play your matches on campus. It
I'm sure
makes it
that's-
so much
I'm
nicer.
sure that's a kind of a secondary factor why there's more people
Oh,
playing. It's
there's
easier
no
to
question.
not have to go
Exactly.
outside.
If you're a freshman and you don't have your driver's license, you walk out of school and you can walk onto our tennis court. So that makes a huge, I mean, that's really nice.
Yeah, and you mentioned so segueing from tennis to now facilities. So we'll go facilities, then we'll get to the second, the final, the final part of your West Brunswick career there, and that's how we'll round it out. But as somebody because you're more central part of the state, I'm rural Eastern North Carolina. It's kind of but I've seen a lot of high school gyms, a lot of high school facilities. West Brunswick is top 5% in the state.
Easily.
No question.
As far
And
as
not
across the board
only
facilities.
West Brunswick, but Brunswick County as a whole in this area.
Exactly.
We
Yes.
talked about it with Ian going to North Myrtle to Hoggard.
We
This
didn't have an aux gym.
I know.
That's where we didn't
Really?
have-
me neither.
we
Me
had to
neither.
go to we went to Irwin High School or Irwin Elementary School, which was the old Irwin High School, on a court that was built in like 1920, and that's where, as a varsity basketball program, we would practice there every other week, so varsity girls could have their practice slot time. We rotate back, just an aux gym. And
Oh, yeah.
West aux gym's tremendous.
Oh, it
Yeah.
is. Well, I mean, when I was in high school, we had one gym, and when basketball season was going on, you had boys and girls practicing, you had baseball pitching on one side, and you had wrestlers wrestling on the other side. So you had all 3 sports in the gym at one time. So we're so fortunate that we do have 2 gyms. I mean, it's amazing.
I think one of my goals coming in is making the program just a little bit better than what it was when I got
Oh,
there. And I think,
definitely.
yes, wins, losses, all that kind of stuff. But one of my big things was being able to turn that locker room into a collegiate locker room. And, with the help of the booster clubs and the help of the county and the help of you, the West Brunswick men's and women's basketball and volleyball, those locker rooms are probably as close to a collegiate locker room as you possibly can
Oh, I
find.
think so.
I mean, it's top tier. I mean,
It
it
is.
really is. All from speaker system to TVs to refrigerators to, if no one's ever been in there,
Custom whiteboard.
yeah, the
Oh,
custom
exactly.
whiteboards, just small little things like that, and padding when you can sit down,
Oh,
like
definitely.
just some things like that. You don't get to see that.
Those are things that our community members don't get to see.
No.
And we get to see them every day. And our kids, I think sometimes they just
Take it
you
for
said,
granted.
They take it for granted
Yeah.
because our stuff it's nicer than most college. Not Division I major colleges, but I played at Lenore-Ryan College. Our facilities are 10 times nicer than when I was playing.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's amazing what our booster club, our county, and our community have done for our facilities. I mean, it really is amazing.
And it's been there for a while, because I think one of the coolest, I'm not even a part of that, area of campus. The baseball and softball, like that whole just complex is what I call it. It's incredible. And you can, region field of the year, just the way it looks, but the locker room that walks into the dugout, that's underneath the concession stand, the hitting facility,
they both have indoor hitting
they both have
facilities.
indoor hitting facilities, and those are just some of the, I've never seen anything like that in high school.
Condition, that takes a lot of work year round to keep your field looking
It
that
does.
good.
One of the best baseball programs I was ever around was Random in high school. They won state championship after state championship, for a long time. They're still a powerhouse. They don't have facilities like we do.
Oh no. I mean, really and truly, our facilities, they are top notch. Our county came in, helped us build the indoor facility for baseball. Our boosters actually built the softball indoor hitting facility. Then, as far as we got new lights on both fields,
Scoreboard,
new scoreboards, our county bought those. Our booster club built the new concession stand press boxes for both softball and baseball. It is definitely. I've never seen a high school have that type of facilities, and I've been in a lot of high schools.
and like you said, it's across the board.
Oh, definitely.
The eye catchers, everybody sees the turf field and the big locker rooms for the football fields. That's new.
Exactly.
That's new.
Think about all the sports, just the turf alone covers. You got men's and women's lacrosse,
Soccer,
men's and women's soccer, football, and practices for all those as well. To where
we
weren't
used
tearing
it in
up the
basketball.
grass
Exactly.
Yeah.
for
Well,
those.
The band.
And
Yep.
the band, and not only that, we have our youth programs as far as, just like we were talking about our soccer program, those youth programs practice out there. We have a youth program with lacrosse. They practice out there. So to me, you couldn't do any of that if you didn't have turf.
Oh, absolutely not.
Our PE classes.
We never had, even if it rained the day before or rained that morning, we can still go out there.
And you still have the grass practice field to prepare against, I'm sure that they go out there and prep for Hogger this week, which, they'll go out the grass more often than they normally would. I would think Coach Handy probably does that to get them used to that playing surface a little bit more than the turf. But, no, absolutely top-notch facility. And putting you a little bit on the spot here, can you give us a little bit of the roadmap as to what improvements are on the horizon? Any improvements that are on the horizon?
So, and we talked about this in the Booster Club the other night, just what are some more improvements. Obviously, and even when Coach Taylor was there, we talked about, some type of video screen for the gym.
Don't get me started on that.
That we would love to continue to try to get. We talked about videos for the screens for the for football. We felt like it was a lot of money to just, because we are having so much success with our signs. I think sometimes we take, that we just didn't feel like that was the right way to go. But maybe for basketball, I feel like that may be something that we're looking into. I don't know if you've been out there lately, but we're doing some things with wrapping some hallways.
Oh yeah, I realize
wraps.
that. The cafeteria alone too. Like I know you're doing that new back hallway in the athletic hallway.
Yes.
Just to bring a little color to West, because those white hallways, school spirit. I just feel like you can bring it out if you just do small things like that. It's not much.
It's not a lot, but I think it does just make things look better. And I don't know if you have obviously been in our weight room. Our booster club redid our weight room several years ago, and it's top notch.
Oh yeah.
And of course we
equipment-wise,
did
it's amazing.
We did some more wraps in there. And I don't know. I think it's something that when you walk in, to me, that would make me want to work harder, I guess. But I do think it's really neat what we've done as far as the wraps and stuff go. But that's probably, I know every year you want to do, every year I want to do something to make things better.
Yep.
And so we've done small things. We did a lot early, but then we've kind of, you still do several things a year, but you may not see it as quite as much.
There's only so much you can do.
Oh, definitely.
You know, where, you know, I talk about in here, I always want to add something. At some point, it gets a little too cluttered. And you know, you want to keep the clean look of everything that you've done there. And you don't want certain things that you have done overlooked either,
definitely.
you know. But I think you have, I think in the Booster Club, like you said, like none of this, you know, I talk about it all the time, is there was never truly, you know, the video scoreboard, I was as an ask. But there was nothing that I ever asked for that I wasn't able to at least find a way to work to get or to get, you know, whether it was uniforms, the locker room, you know, the shooting gun, like whatever we needed to be successful, you know, the Booster Club and the athletic department was more than willing to help us with that.
Yeah, I mean, I think anytime a coach comes to me and says, hey, I really need this to win, we're going to find a way. I mean, whether you go ask people for money or whether it comes out of Booster or athletics, but to me, if it's something to improve our program, I think that's so important to get.
Yeah. And I think, you know, we only have a couple more minutes. We're trying to make this not an hour. So many people are like, we want to watch it, and we started watching, but we can't sit there for an hour, and I understand that. You know, I think one of the big things that is so amazing at West, you know, whether it's baseball, soccer, you know, football, you know, this year, especially in the first year that I was there, you know, and I feel like we truly have had it every year in basketball, the town shuts down. You know, and it's kind of that small town feel where, you know, I went to the South Columbus game, and I know it wasn't a conference game, but the stands was packed. The kids were there. Exactly. I haven't seen a football student section like that since my very first year in 2018.
Put down steroids for Laney.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was
really?
huge.
See, I have not seen that in 7 years, and I think that is so cool. And, you know, I feel like we have been able to continue that with basketball on the girls and men's side. You know, that's standing room only in that gym, and everybody, and it's hot. We've had to open doors, we've had to turn on fans, we've had to stop the game to remop the floor.
Exactly.
And
that's awesome.
And I think that's, you know, I've always talked about that's like the X factor at West. You know, you have that, you know, Texas A&M talks about the 12th man. You know, for basketball, our 6th man was that student section. That first year that I was there with, you know, Isaiah Urasek and DeAndre Clare, Jacquees Daniels, Jaden Parker, that student section went 2 sections down all the way up to the top. Yep. And they were on the floor, and they were on you from warm-ups, from when you walked out there. And people were like, that doesn't help you. How do people in the stands, they don't understand that. They've never been a part of it. You know, when you're up at the free throw line and you're down 2 and you got to shoot and you have 50 kids yelling, 100 kids yelling at you. That's a knee knocker right there. You're shaking a little bit. Never. These kids were always, you know, just cheering for our kids. Is what we told them. Just cheer for our guys.
That's right.
I just think, and it's not just the kids. You know, I always talk about, you know, Miss Jackson, Miss Hill, who've been there for so long, and their community that they bring in that corner, and. You know, Javian McCrae's dad still comes to every game and gives every official the 1-2 if he can. And you know, I think about House Metters because I coached Savion, Royce, Cam. Like he's been there he might not say anything, but he's there, and they're there. You know, they're there thick and thin. And you know, Jeff Johnson, who's on the coaching staff, he played there, and you know, I think that's one thing that. The community and the athletes take for granted here is the support that comes to the games.
I got to give Joe Stanley a shout out.
Yeah, for years been coming to take pictures too.
Joe kind of planted the seed just for going and taking pictures.
Exactly.
Everything that he did, he posted to the community out there for free.
And he's at everything.
He's at everything.
And Jim Moore, I have to say about Jim. Jim, the last
emailed me after
years.
every game about his stuff. Yeah.
Great people that want to see West succeed. Those are great individuals.
A lot of high school athletics don't have that kind of stuff. Media sitting on the ground. I know it's kind of a bigger world now, but when I was in high school, we didn't have people sitting on the ground taking pictures.
I had to hunt to find a picture. I was trying to find a picture of myself playing.
Exactly.
It didn't happen.
No, you didn't have that. Not at all. And even like what we're trying to do now, what you guys are trying to do, I mean, I think it's great. I just think, like I said, when you can sell your community, your high school, your kids, that's what it's all about. I mean, I do. I think that's something that we're missing a lot in today's world. We want to talk negative,
Ah,
but
man.
we want to talk.
And
we
the
want this to
news
be
in general,
positive.
like we want
Exactly.
hitting the nail on the hammer right there, or hammer the nail, whatever that is, something like that.
Something with a hammer. That's all right.
Yeah, well, let's wrap this up, Coach Fletcher. If you had your tenure at West Brunswick, if you wanted, to be remembered for one or two things, if you had to sum it all up, and Coach Fletcher was this, what would that be?
To me, the one thing that I would always say is I just want to be remembered as someone that loved kids and helped kids. I think that is, I mean, yeah, that's what you said. It'd be nice to win this and that, but I'm telling you, when it's all said and done, it's all going to be about how you help those kids.
How you made a difference.
How you make a difference. I mean, I think that's what it's all about. I really do.
Yeah, absolutely, Coach.
Thank you.
again.
Thank you so very much.
I hope you weren't. I hope you enjoyed it. Weren't too nervous
it's
about it.
great.
I know you've been 1,000 of these, but
It's
this
great.
is.
I love it.
We just wanted to have a conversation, and I hope it was comfortable, and I hope you are able to promote this a little bit
Oh,
to the
definitely.
coaches back at West for us, so it's not hard for us, which everybody's been so easy to talk to.
Oh,
So
yeah. This is great.
we are, last week we had the next interviewer for us to come on. To tell them that it was you. Right now we don't have anybody. We are going to reach out to a couple coaches and see what we can do, and I'm going to be out of town for a little bit, so it might be. Do an episode and see what we can do, and I think that would be a good job to get a little bit new faces on here just to build this brand of what we're trying to do.
love it.
So
It's fun. We have a good time with it.
Oh, yes.
we good to go?
We're good.
All right, guys. Thank y'all so
Thank
much.
you.
Oh, all right. Let's see how. I hope my phone stayed on the whole time.
That was awesome.